Hello, 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 and happy Tuesday. My name is LaKeesha Hines, and you are watching SOS Saving Our Sex Lives one bedroom at a time. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. We are talking about how our thoughts actually can ruin our sex lives, and I'm going to break it down for you today how that actually happens and what are some of those thoughts. I feel like once you've been in a relationship for a really long time, we get used to certain patterns, we get used to doing things a certain way, and it's hard when you're being asked to do something different, to try something new that you've never ever done before. And I understand it. I'm here to walk you through it. I want to help you through it. So first and foremost, let me know who you are, where you're streaming from, so I can shout you out. I love to do that. And because I have quite a bit of content for you today, we are going to jump right in. As I said, what we're talking about today is how our thoughts actually ruin our sex lives. And we're going to hopefully shift some of those thoughts today. So when we're invited or we invite our spouses to engage in any form of sexual activity, the expectations are that both parties will be in the moment, number one, will connect to their individual bodies, number two, will connect to their senses, all of their senses, number three, and then number four, that they will connect to the other person. All right. So when we invite someone to engage with us, or our spouse invites us to engage with them, the expectations are to be in the moment, connect with your body, connect with your senses, and connect to the other person. Sometimes, though, there's an extra person in the bedroom that did not get invited. And sometimes extra people in the bedroom who were not invited, and they're sounding off in our minds during sex, critiquing everything from our desire to our performance. And that extra person or those extra people are called critical inner voices, or your critical inner voice, or your inner critic. So you'll hear me use both of those terms, critical inner voice or inner critic. These critical inner voices, they can be in one person's head or both of your heads. And that's why I'm using it singular and plural. These voices can take you out of the experience entirely. They can disconnect you from your body. They can leave you disconnected from your partner. And you get robbed of all of the beauty and the precious aspects of sex and sexuality. Research has actually shown that having higher self-esteem and a more positive body image is directly connected with your level of sexual satisfaction. But negative thoughts toward ourselves actually heighten our stress levels, which can decrease our sexual satisfaction. So everything starts in the mind. If you watch me, if you listen to me, you know I'm telling you guys all the time. Everything starts in the mind. Everything starts here. That's our CPU. It's our central processing unit. The mind controls the body. So if the mind has a warped sense of reality, then what do you think is going to happen with the body? The body will respond in a negative way. So we got to get our minds right. We definitely have to get our minds right. All right. So one of the main culprits that lead people into this negative headspace, where I was talking about having negative thoughts about ourselves, which heightens our stress levels and ultimately can decrease our sexual satisfaction. Many people get into these negative headspaces during sex because of that inner critic, their critical inner voice. And that voice is a destructive thought process that actually sabotages sexual satisfaction. How much we listen to this voice is directly tied to feelings of self-consciousness, insecurity, and shame. The critical inner voice can also lead us to the self-limiting behaviors and sometimes even self-destructive behaviors also. And the the unfortunate part about all of it is that people oftentimes aren't even fully aware of how much that critical inner voice is impacting them and impacting their relationship with their partner. And researchers also found that many people have critical inner voices about themselves, their partner, or about sex in general before, during, and after sex. I'm going to say that again. Many people have critical inner voices about themselves, about their partner, or about sex in general. And it happens before, during, and after sex. To add insult to injury, there's a major degree of cruelty and painful emotions that are in these critical inner voices. And so now I want to walk you through how some of these inner voices might sound. Okay. So a common way that people can be really unkind to themselves and their sexuality is the critical inner voices that they have about their bodies. So I'll just give you some common examples, right? So the critical inner voice may say, "You look horrible naked. It's humiliating to take your clothes off." That critical inner voice may say, "Your breasts are too big or too small." It might say, "Your penis is too small and I won't be able to satisfy my spouse." The critical inner voice might say, "You look so old. There's no way my spouse is attracted to me anymore." A lot of critical inner voices actually come up in anticipation of being sexual or having sex. And so some of those thoughts might be, do you really think your spouse is attracted to you? And why would they be? You're going to be so awkward. They will lose interest. Why are you thinking about sex again? Are you some type of pervert or something? Watch out. He's probably just using you. You are going to embarrass yourself. She'd rather be with somebody else. You shouldn't initiate because every time you initiate, you'll just get rejected. And you won't know what to do once you actually start. I want to know if any of these resonate with any of you. And it may be too much for you to give a thumbs up or to let me know if this resonates with you, and that's okay. But if this is your inner critic, if this is what your critical inner voice is saying to you, there is hope. There is hope. And I want you to hang in here for the duration of this episode today, because I'm going to give you steps, strategies for what you can do to silence that inner critic. All right. So that was thoughts about the body, thoughts about yourself or your partner leading up to sex. Now, what about during sex? And this one, oh my goodness, they're all difficult, but for different reasons. Before the thoughts before sex. Well, let me back up. The thoughts that you have about your body can prevent you from initiating sex and also can cause you to reject sex when your spouse initiates. The thoughts that you have leading up to sex can prevent you from moving forward. The thoughts that you have during sex can remove you from being present and in the moment. And I told you, when you're invited or you invite someone to engage in sexual activity or in sex with you or with them, there are things I told you that must be in place. You must be in, the expectation is that you're going to be in the moment, connect to your body, connect to your senses, and connect with your spouse. But if you're having these critical inner voices during sex, they can remove you from being present and from being in the moment. Also, these attacks are mean and they start to creep in, and they're directed toward self, toward your individual performance, toward your partner or toward sex in general. And those thoughts literally can stop you dead in your tracks from enjoying the experience. So some of those inner voices during sex: you're not making her feel good. You should be doing this, or you should be doing that. He's probably turned off by you. You're not feeling enough. You're not feeling enough. What's wrong with you? You're so bad at this. She doesn't seem all that excited. You're doing something wrong. You won't be able to finish, or you're going to finish too quickly. You're not going to have an orgasm. Don't show him or her what you want because you'll look like a freak. Why can't he or she tell you what you want? They think you're terrible at this. They think you're so awkward or insensitive. Can't he tell you're not feeling anything? She's so tense. What's wrong with her? Just some examples of those thoughts. And all these kinds of thoughts, they creep in more and more. And the more and more they creep in, sex becomes less and less enjoyable. And more critical, these critical thoughts, again, the more they creep in, the less sex becomes enjoyable. And those critical thoughts, again, take us out of the moment. They take us out of the free flow of the experience. They cause us distress. They disconnect us from ourselves and our partner. For sure, they alienate us from our partner. And when one person starts to listen to their inner critic or their critical inner voice during sex, their partner might notice a change. And when this distraction is noticed, or if their partner seems slightly less enthusiastic about what's happening, now you might trigger the inner critic in your spouse because you got distracted, because you don't seem as enthusiastic. And so now your partner's thinking, oh no, what changed? What happened? What did I do wrong? And now they're out of the moment. There are many times where, couples have described that once they start listening to their critical inner voice, that sex becomes more mechanical. And it's not a shared personal experience. And even when they are able to get the inner critic in check during sex, they might notice that voices creep in after sex. And after being sexual, some thoughts that might come up: you didn't feel enough. They didn't seem that into you. You were too excited. They probably think you're desperate. You are so perverted. They're not going to want to be with you again. So what if this time felt good? It won't be this good next time. It won't be this way the next time. And so I just want to let you guys know, whether your specific voice comes in before, during, or after sex, the goal to feel free and like yourself in relation to your sexuality and the solution are the same. If the voice comes in before, during, or after sex, the goal and the solution are the same. You must challenge your inner critic. And the goal to feel free and like yourself in relation to sexuality is only going to happen if you challenge that inner critic. And that's what you have to do. So you guys, we talked about what the inner critic is. We talked about what it could sound like. And I'm going to give you solutions on how you can silence that inner critic on the other side of this break. Do not go anywhere. You're watching SOS. I'll be right back.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org. We're really excited about Foundation. It is a new group program where couples are gathering from all around the world twice a week, couples who just want to have a thriving, successful, amazing marriage. No really well-built house is built without a foundation. As a matter of fact, without a foundation, it can't stand. It would just crumble right into the ground. We are going to interview experts and other successful couples so that you can get a glimpse into the lives of other people who are doing what it is that you desire to do, who have and who are accomplishing what it is that you want to accomplish. And we also have over 500 videos available for you to watch of all of our teaching. Everything that we've ever done, every topic that we've ever covered will be accessible to you.
So guys, if this sounds exciting to you and if this sounds like something you've been waiting for, go ahead and just give it a try. We're literally giving away a 15-day trial for $1. And then after that, it's simply $3 a day. And so, is your marriage worth it? Is your future worth it? Join the community today. Just click that button and meet us on the other side.
Welcome back again. You're watching SOS. My name is LaKeesha Hines, and I'm saving our bedrooms one bedroom at a time. Here's the thing, you guys. We're talking about how our thoughts can actually ruin our sex lives, and I really want you guys to take this very seriously because, you know, like I said, everything starts with the mind. Joyce Meyer said the battlefield is in the mind, and that's true for everything that you're dealing with, be it you're struggling in your sex life, you're struggling in your marital life, you're struggling in your individual personal life. Everything starts with mindset. And I'll just give you guys like a real live example. Literally today, I had a negative inner critic moment today, and it almost impacted what I needed to do today in my workout. Like, my inner critic was like screaming in my ears today. And I mean, literally, I had to cast down those thoughts. I really had to capture those thoughts and shift my mindset. And when I tell you, I went in that gym and I went as hard as I could possibly go. Like, I'm like, no, inner critic, you will not win today. So we all have one. And we are responsible for our inner critic. You know, we can't depend on our spouses to silence that inner critic. It's our job. That critic is in you, right? And you know, we are our own worst enemy many times, or at least I will speak for myself. So if nobody else wants to co-sign on that, that's fine. I will be party of one. I am my biggest critic, right? I'm my own worst enemy. And so you know, a lot of times we give the devil credit for things that we should not be giving him credit for. And I love what Hassani says, the enemy is enemy, because it's true. And so I have to make sure that, again, I take care of whatever's going on in me so that I have a positive outcome. So same thing with your sex life, right? So let's get on to these tips and how I can help you guys to silence this inner critic. And I want to talk to you about, again, how we really many times don't even know that the critic is there. So that's why I wanted to give you guys examples of what those voices can be saying. All right. So how do we challenge our own inner critic? Got to ask yourself some questions, right? So I'm going to give you guys 5 questions. Hopefully you're taking notes. Question number 1, what are the voices saying? We need to write down all the negative thoughts that we have in relation to our sexuality, right? So if you're having these negative thoughts, write down every thought you're having regarding your sexuality. And it can be thoughts about your body, about your performance, about your partner, or sex in general. Because when you do this, you need to write it in second person, as if somebody's saying them to you. For example, instead of saying, I'm just bad at sex, you would write, you are just bad at sex, because that's how your inner critic sounds. All right. So what are the voices saying? Write down every negative thought that you're having about your body, performance, your partner, or sex in general. All right. Number 2, where did the voices come from? You have got to get to the root of your mindset, your attitude, your thoughts about your sex and sexuality. When people start listing what their voices say, more and more start to come to mind. It can feel like being flooded with critical commentary. And sometimes the attack will actually start off specific, but as you continue writing and you think deeper and deeper and deeper, then the more rooted attitudes about sexuality actually start to bubble up and come to the surface. So let's just say, you start out writing, sex is too complicated, it just isn't for you. As you go further and further into your list of the voices, you should start writing things like, or this is an example of another person, started writing things like sex is dangerous, it's dirty, you're going to get a disease, it's gross to want sex, good girls shouldn't want sex. And let me talk to you about this good girl thing, because I'm a woman, so I'm going to speak from a woman's perspective regarding this. Many, many times we are taught things growing up from elders, from our parents, from our grandparents, from church, from other religious organizations, from society. We're taught certain things that resonate with us, that stick with us, that become a part of our DNA, and it's who we become. And a lot of times, again, we're not even aware of these critical inner voices in the present. And so a lot of these things got put into us, implanted into us when we were growing up. And so many times our attitudes about sex and sexuality, they come from our past, whether it was directly said to us or if attitudes and beliefs were picked up on. These forces literally help mold our sense of our own sexuality. And it wasn't even a situation where we were given a choice. It was literally like someone just cut our head open, popped the top, and poured it in there. And you didn't ask for it to be poured in there. So we have to make connections to where our negative attitudes come from, so it can help us to separate these feelings from our past, from our real point of view in the present. So number 3, what do you say to the voices? Now, I know under normal circumstances, when we talk about voices, I don't play around mental health stuff. So I don't want you to think I'm making a joke about this, because mental health is real. And there are people who really do hear voices. But you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your inner critic voices. Okay. So you need to respond to each voice attack. After you write down your voices, you literally should go back to each and every attack and respond from a loving, compassionate, realistic perspective. You're going to talk to yourself the way you would talk to your best friend. Or if you're a parent, you would talk to yourself like you would talk to your child. And this time you're going to write your responses in the first person to identify the expressions as your true point of view. For example, if you wrote down, you are so awkward, no one would want to be sexual with you, then your response might be, I may feel awkward when I'm listening to all these voices, but I'm actually a comfortable, affectionate person. And when I'm relaxed, I love how I am sexually. All right. So you wrote down your voices in second person, but when you write down your response, then you're going to write it down in first person. That makes sense to you guys. I hope it does. Number 4, how do I really feel about sex? It is so important that you discover your own attitude towards sex. That is critically important because, again, I told you a lot of times these things were imprinted in our minds. We had no control over what we were told or what we were taught. So really, it's about getting in tune with yourself and peeling away the overlays of your inner critic. You want to have an open and welcoming attitude towards your real feelings about sex, whatever they may be. And you have to let go of all the shoulds and discover what you really enjoy and what you really desire. It's hard to have a conversation with your spouse about your wants, wishes, and desires if you are not in touch or in tune with them. So you do need to have a curious, open, and non-judgmental perspective toward yourself. You got to have some compassion for yourself and any experiences that may have happened in the past that hurt you in direct relation to your sexuality. Do not let your inner critic convince you that you have to limit, restrict, or punish yourself based on any past experiences, negative or positive. And it's most important that you remember your sexuality does not belong to anyone else but you. Your sexuality is yours to understand, it's yours to explore, and it's yours to enjoy. Last question. Do you share your thoughts? Have you had a courageous conversation with your spouse? If you're in a trusting relationship, you have to talk to your partner. You have to talk to your spouse about how your critical inner voice shows up, how your critical inner voice attacks your sexuality, how your critical inner voice invades in that space, how that critical inner voice ended up in the bedroom with the two of you. Now, I know if you have not had a conversation like this before, it's going to be uncomfortable. But if we want to change our sex lives, we have to be willing to do something different, something that we've never done before. So you have to be open, you have to be vulnerable. And when you do, many times that's going to inspire your partner to do the same thing. And ultimately, it should bring the two of you closer. And it should bring you to a deeper level in your relationship. Every time you share what's going on in your head, you allow your partner, your spouse, or your partner to really get to know you and to really begin to understand all the aspects of your sexuality that may have little or nothing to do with them. And that also might help them not to attack themselves when it relates to their own sexuality. So you want to be in a place where you're talking openly and honestly to benefit your relationship. There have been a myriad of studies that have shown that couples who actually get to be comfortable talking about sex, they actually enjoy sex more. Is that a shock? Is that a shock that you actually could enjoy sex more if you talk to your spouse or your partner? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's a shock for you, but it just makes so much sense to me. Why? Because if you're not talking, then you don't know what your spouse wants, what they desire, what they like, what they don't like. They don't know what you like, what you don't like. So you have to talk, right? So those couples, again, according to research, that get comfortable with talking about sex, that open up and become vulnerable and share the truth about what's going on with them individually and in their collective experience, actually enjoy sex more. Now, this isn't a question, but this is a part of the process. Last but not least, kick your critic out of the bedroom. Kick your inner critic out of the bedroom. Okay? Like, they have to get out. Did you all see that movie, Get Out? That movie, oh my gosh, was like insane. But you must kick your critic out of the bedroom. There's no space for them. They don't belong there. There's no place for them. There's no room for them. I don't care if you have a California king size bed. You have got to kick that inner critic out of the bedroom. Kicking your critical inner voice out of the bedroom, I know, may seem easier said than done. But the more you are aware of the voices and how they affect your sexuality, the easier it will become. Kicking that inner critic out can benefit you throughout your entire life, not just your sex life, not just your sex life. Literally can help you have more fun in casual situations. It can help you enjoy more lasting intimacy and closeness in your relationship. But we have to be alive to our sexuality. And that needs to become a practice in maintaining a very important part of who we are. We are sexual creatures. We are sexual beings. And so one of the most effective ways to have that intimacy, that closeness, to have more fun in every situation, right? To get more benefits throughout your life is to keep challenging your inner critic. Keep exploring your own real feelings about your sexuality, and don't let anyone else dictate to you what it should look, feel, or sound like. All right. So I hope that you guys got something out of today's show and that you are ready to kick that inner critic out of the bedroom and out of your head space. All right. Not just your bedroom space, but your head space, so that you can truly begin to walk in the fullness of what it is that God has for your relationship, to include your sex life. All right. So I will be right back here, same time next Tuesday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I hope to see you next week. All right. You guys have a good day. Enjoy. Bye.